Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I hope you're doing well. A few weeks ago I made a video about the 20 things that I do to keep my tanks algae free. That video got a lot of views, which tells me that a lot of people are still struggling with algae. So today, instead of sharing 20 things, I want to share only one thing. One thing I did, or actually one change that I made, that really helped me a lot in the battle against algae. And I think this can benefit a lot of you as well. During the first few years of my adventure into the planted tank hobby, I had decent results. My tanks didn't look amazing, but I could grow healthy plants, and that was the most important. I did, however, always struggle with algae, and with pretty much every aquascape that I made, I would always get some blackbrush algae on the slow growing plants, as well as on the hardscape. And I would also get green spot algae on the Anubias leaves and other places. I had other types of algae as well, but from what I can remember, the blackbrush algae and the green spot algae were always present. What I do remember from those days is that I was very consistent with my liquid fertilizers. I was always using all-in-one liquid fertilizer, and I would follow the exact advice and the exact recommended dose that was on the label. What I was not consistent with though, actually what I never did, was test my water parameters. So I had no idea how high my nitrates or phosphates were, or anything else for that matter. But don't worry, I'm not going to make you become a scientist and start testing all your water parameters and adjust your fertilizers until you found the perfect formula. The big change in my success with planted tanks came when I started dosing less liquid fertilizer. Instead of focusing on feeding my plants with liquid fertilizers, I started to increase the fertilizers in my substrate. So I would spend a bit more money and buy a good quality nutrient-rich aqua soil, and I would also buy nutrient capsules or tabs and add those to the substrate as well. This allowed me to skip a few days or sometimes an entire week of dosing liquid fertilizers, and my plants wouldn't suffer from it, because they had plenty of nutrients available in the substrate. The combination of less nutrients in the water column and more nutrients in the substrate significantly reduced the amount of algae that I got. Another great benefit from the change was that my plants actually started to look more colorful. You see, a lot of people still think that plants will grow more vibrant red when you supplement them with iron, but this is simply not true. Of course, iron is necessary for general plant health, and healthy plants develop better colors, but to get really vibrant red colors, you need to dose less nitrogen. But now we're drifting from today's subject. Let me know if I should make a dedicated video about how to grow red plants. Back to dosing less liquid fertilizer. Later on, I found out that there's actually a name for this method, which is called the lean fertilization method, or lean dosing. And lean dosing is becoming a lot more popular these days, which is great because I truly believe that this can help a lot of people with their algae issues. So let me explain a bit more what lean dosing is and why I think it's great for beginners and people who are struggling with algae. To put it as simple as possible, with lean dosing you are going to add just enough nutrients for the plants not to suffer. Now of course that sounds a bit cruel, but lean dosing is pretty much always combined with a very nutrient-rich substrate like aqua soil. So plants will take most of their desired nutrients from their roots and only a little bit through their leaves. So the liquid fertilizers that we will be adding will consist of mostly potassium and trace elements. Sometimes also a bit of phosphate and nitrate, but most of that will come from the substrate. I don't believe that there is only one way of doing anything in life, and the same goes for lean dosing. There are different ways to go about this. The ADA fertilization method is considered lean dosing, and this method very much resembles what I just explained. Soil substrate combined with potassium and trace elements. By the way, when I say trace elements, I just mean a combination of micronutrients. So we have our macronutrients, or NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, and the micronutrients, magnesium, iron, copper and a few others. Another way of applying the lean dosing method is just by taking any regular complete liquid fertilizer and just cutting the recommended dose in half or even less. This is basically what I was doing in the beginning, when I would just stop dosing for a few days or even a week. Some companies have actually started producing their own line of lean liquid fertilizer. One of them is the APT Zero and APT Complete by the 2-Hour Aquarist. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with this company, but I have used these fertilizers in the past with really good results. So I will leave a link in the description if you want to buy this fertilizer. So what are the benefits of lean dosing? In my opinion, there are 3 main benefits: less algae, slower plant growth, better colors. Let's go over these one by one. So the lean dosing method will result in less algae because there are very little nutrients available for them. Most of the nutrients are stored in the substrate where algae can't reach it. And the small amount of nutrients that we dose daily or so will be absorbed by the plants really quickly. Benefit number 2 is slower plant growth. Now why is that a good thing? Well, in my opinion it's a good thing because it results in less maintenance, because we have to do less frequent trimming. It also means that we can enjoy the desired look for a longer period of time, before plants grow too big and we have to trim them. And because the plants don't grow as fast, they actually grow more compact as well. For example, stem plants grown in tanks with the lean dosing method will have less space in between each node compared to stem plants grown in a tank with plenty of nutrients in the water column. And benefit number 3 is better colors. With the lean dosing approach, the water column will contain very little nitrates. The lack of nitrogen delays the development in chlorophyll in some plants, and this will allow them to grow more red. So those are the 3 main benefits of the lean dosing approach. Now let's see if you should apply this method to your own aquarium. The lean dosing method is good for people who have a tank with not many plants or lots of slow growing plants like Anubias, Bushoflandra or Java ferns. It's also good for people who are struggling a lot with green dust algae on the glass or plants. And it's good for people who are trying to make their stem plants nice and red through nitrate limitation. I would not suggest this method to people who have a very densely planted tank, like a Dutch style tank. And to people who just want really fast plant growth. Alright, that's the end of the video. If you are currently struggling with algae and you are dosing a lot of liquid fertilizer, maybe you should consider the lean dosing method. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.